Hey, what's up, guys? Tuki here, back again with another episode of a Nation United Rock Flag and Eagle, our USA Road to Glory series right here on NHL 18. And today we begin simming through the 2022-2023 NHL season. Now, the last episode was pretty big for the for the course of this series. That's really the only way to put it. It was a major episode with some major moves made. The team looks drastically different for the most part, and I really am intrigued to see what's going to happen and how this is going to play out. Before we get into that, though, there was a franchise-level goaltender drafted in the previous draft, and I believe I found him. He's the only franchise-level goalie that I found. That would be Graves on the Penguins, 56 overall at 18 years old. So, for those who happen to be wondering about him, although, let me actually go back. What is our draft pick situation, just so that I am remembering clearly here? What is that draft pick situation? 4 first-rounders, including our own Colorado, Ottawa, and Washington. Not a bad situation to be in. Let's get one more look at the team, mainly because I've changed up the lines a little bit and a couple of player types, which, hey, if you don't believe it does anything, then hey, at least I didn't waste your time by doing it in the episode. And if you do believe it did something, well, then, I mean, we can have the debate. For example, with someone like Brady Tkachuk, who was a power forward, changing him to a two-way. Power forwards are very hit or miss with their point production, as we've seen throughout the course of many series. I'm intrigued to see what Tkachuk can do. Of course, he is one of the 2 new additions, major additions, alongside Noah Hanifin. Now, there was a moment in the last episode that a couple of people caught, and admittedly, I didn't, that being Johnny Gaudreau being on the free agent list. Now, he was down to an 81 overall due to the morale system, which is unfortunate, but even if I had seen him, it still would have cost us, from the looks of it, about $10 million. So we would have gone from paying Eichel $10 million to paying Gaudreau $10 million. The benefit would have been, of course, being able to trade Gaudreau. But you can see there, $2 million, under $2 million in cap space. It would have involved moving certain players, then getting Gaudreau on the team, then moving him, but having to wait long enough so that we don't get in trouble for trading someone that we most recently signed. It just would have been a mess, and I think it worked out all right this way with the way that we ended up spending the money. And in the top line, as you can see, Tkachuk, Mittelstadt, and Besser. I am going to try Mittelstadt as a playmaker as opposed to a two-way, mainly due to the 98 offensive awareness, also the deking, despite his passing not exactly being that great. Of course, Brock Besser is still here. No more Austin Matthews, no more Jack Eichel. It made sense to keep Brock Besser. We'll see what he can do. There is pressure on him to deliver this season. We go down to the second line. Initially, I was going to run Jack Hughes at center. I'm a little bit worried about his development. Of course, I'd like him to hit a 90 overall, but we are going to try him at left wing as a sniper. Ryan Donato will be the center. Of course, he's had success as a sniper, a playmaker, a two-way, so we've changed him back to a two-way for some balance. Oliver Wahlstrom as well, now a playmaker, mainly due to the 99 deking. I'm intrigued to see how that will go down. So you can see how we've set this up. Playmaker, sniper, two-way, one of each on the top 3 lines, trying to find a little bit of balance. The third line, we start off with Joel Farabee, now 22 years old and 81 overall. Intrigued to see what he can do this season. Ryan Poehling still at center, the perfect third-line center. I mean, in terms of attributes and how well-rounded he is, the only thing I'd like would be for the physical category to be a little bit higher, but he's tremendous. And Jordan Greenway. Of course, we ended up going the minor signings route as opposed to going after someone like Gaudreau. That resulted in us signing not only Greenway, but Frederick and LeBanc, who, of course, are on the 4th line with Josh Norris. Just get you a quick look at the stats there. And you can see, third line, 2 ways, defensive-oriented. 4th line, grinders. Intrigued to see what they can do, even if someone like Frederick or even LeBanc don't exactly have the highest physical ratings, but we'll see how it plays out. And then defensively, I mean, that top 4 is disgusting. All of them have been changed to two-ways, I do believe. I think the only non-two-way on the team right now is Carlo, and that is indeed the case. So, like I mentioned, I'm intrigued to see what this team can do. Ottinger, the starter, 89 overall, and Brent Timmins is making his NHL debut this season as the backup. No healthy scratches, but we do have other options that could be called up, including Johnny Bertuzzi and Adam Gaudette. So if somebody is struggling, and mainly in that bottom six, we do have a call-up option with one of those two. From there, everything's just kind of optimized as best as it can be, with Wolf and Petruzzelli as the 1-2 punch in Cleveland. So with that, I think that pretty much sets the stage, catches us up to what is going on aside from captaincies. I haven't taken a look since we've made all of those moves. That's not gonna work for me. I am kind of all right though with Trouba being the captain. I'm kind of okay with that. Now I know most people would be like, "Oh, I'm shocked you're not handing it to McAvoy," and I kind of feel the same way. But you know, it makes sense somewhat. I'm gonna give a letter to Middlestat. He's been on this team for quite a while. I'm going to give a letter to Josh Norris as well. And let's go with Trouba as our captain. That works for me. So we have two forward representatives. Norris, we'll see if he can be the heart and soul of the fourth line that we kind of need him to be. And then down in Cleveland, obviously not as important, but screw it, whatever. Let's have some fun with it. Who has been on this team for the longest amount of time? You know what? I already know who I'm naming captain. And that is going to be former Bruins prospect and now Rangers prospect Ryan Lindgren. From there, Rintoul? Bertuzzi, you know what? Bertuzzi's been on the team for a while. Let's go Bertuzzi and Gaudette as captain. Why not? That works out well. Or not. That's right. I named Lindgren captain. Gaudette will be the alternate. My bad. Anyway, let's get the season sim underway, shall we? Not quite sure how well this team is going to do, but that was certainly the goal coming out of the last season, was to create more of a balance with this team. Obviously, we still have some defensemen that are very capable offensively, as I completely forgot that we sent out an offer for John Gillies. That's right, Gillies was going to be the starter, or the backup. Gillies was going to be the backup. I completely forgot. Let's go ahead and change that. I knew I was forgetting something from the last episode, and that was it. It's the fact that we went out and signed John Gillies. So he will be the backup. Let me just change that over without using best lines because it would be a massive pain in the ass. But as mentioned, this year was about creating a bit more of a balance. Offensively, at least defensively, I should have said, we have offensively capable players. Obviously, Quinn Hughes, Charlie McAvoy. There's a lot of potential for points among our defensemen, but we thankfully don't have the Austin Matthews and the Jack Eichel that would be, disappointing with their point totals due to the fact that we just had so many great players. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. And we've seen that throughout the course of my channel, really. Whether it be, and this is always the go-to, a series like Rebuilding Hockeytown on NHL 17, where we had multiple 60-win seasons. Occasionally in the playoffs, we would just stroll our way to victory. No problem. Everyone's getting points. Other years, eliminated in the first round and everybody struggled. So you never quite know. It was worth a shot to have, Eichel, Matthews, and Besser on this team at the same time to see if we could get it to work. With the way it panned out in the playoffs last year, I would say it didn't quite work out. It was worth a shot. Now we're aiming to, again, hopefully find somewhat of a balance. And the major thing for this series will be whether or not we can actually get some high-end prospects in the upcoming draft. Otherwise, we're kind of stuck with the players we have now. There's a couple of others, of course, that we could look to get, whether it be guys, I think like Trocheck was a good example, that we could find. But really, it would just be changing certain names and faces around that are all kind of the same caliber, which I guess really is the goal of trying to find the winning combination. I don't know. I'm intrigued to see how the season plays out, as Buffalo's 1-8-1. That's brutal. The big thing So, I mean, really, if you think about it, I believe the best player to come out of the draft so far that's been an American has been Jack Hughes. There haven't really been any great computer-generated American players, which you couldn't really have predicted. At least I certainly didn't. I was expecting medium elites. I was expecting maybe even a franchise, particularly out of the WHL, if it happened to be an American player. Apparently not. And that is one thing that I've talked about on numerous occasions that I would like to see changed. Obviously, just having a little bit more randomness, I guess, to the draft. Now, I'm not saying, and you've heard me bring this up before. I'm not saying have the number one pick every year be from Kazakhstan, right? But once every 10 years, maybe there is a number one overall pick out of Kazakhstan. Switzerland, like Nico Hischier. It would be nice, and not to mention just better American players in general, rather than having 9 times out of 10 the WHL be the dominant league in which players are drafted from. In terms of why I decided to go with the Sea Cattle series, I knew it was going to be a challenge going with players from those 4 teams, but I also knew that the WHL provides the best talent once you get far enough into a series, so it might not have been as difficult as it appeared. As far as how that series has been going, well, if you've been following up with it, you know, and if you haven't been, shame. Shame on you. Dishonor on you. Dishonor on your whole family. Oh, God, Mulan might be the best Disney movie. Don't at me. We're at 21-9-3 midway through December. Now that I'm done ranting and raving for the moment, we're doing quite well. January 1st, I'm going to take a look at the stats. Shootout loss to the LA Kings. We lose in regulation to Montreal. We beat the Rangers, final game of 2022, and it's a 3-0 loss to the Toronto Maple Leafs. But as of January 1st, 2023, our record stands at 23-11-4. It's not too bad. Cleveland's struggling a little bit more than I would have hoped, particularly with Timmins between the pipes, but we'll take a look here as Casey Middlestat is right where we want him to be. We are also in first place in our division. That is tremendous. 2 points clear of the Islanders. We also have a game at hand, and we are one of 4 teams tied for 4th place. And technically, we have it because of the games at hand. So we're on a pretty good pace. Florida, Toronto, and St. Louis, though, on a slightly better pace. But not too shabby. Actually, let's go back to team stats here because it might be worth changing up the power play or the penalty kill at this point in time. So, goals for per game, we're at a 3.05. One of just 4 teams to be averaging more than 3 goals a game. We're in 3rd in the league. Toronto's offense is ridiculous. Our goals against average at a 2.61, which is slightly higher than I would have hoped. That's mid-table, but it's closer to the top. So our defense and goaltending hasn't exactly been where I would have preferred. Our power play is at a frankly ridiculous 28.1%, the best in the league, so that's nice to see. No shorthanded goals against. Our penalty kill, though, is one of the league's worst at a 76.2. So that is something we will need to address. So our power play is great, but defensively, goaltending-wise, we're not quite where we want to be. But we are still up there as one of the top teams in the league, and that is incredibly promising, as opposed to last season, where we were struggling for quite a bit. So Brady Tkachuk, that is not bad at all. 35 points in 38 games. Obviously, I was a little bit concerned switching him from a power forward to a two-way when he put up 38 goals as a power forward last year, but he is on pace to put up more points this season, considerably more points. So a great season so far for Brady Tkachuk. Casey Middlestat, obviously our leading scorer. I'm going to take a look league-wide, but he's doing incredibly well. And Brock Besser, I mean, he has the fewest goals on this line, which is kind of a problem, but he still has 34 points in 38 games. I'm not complaining. And when I talk about how I want my top line to perform, to be as close to a point a game as possible, this is it. This top line is delivering right now. I have no complaints. No complaints whatsoever. Moving over to the second line, 20 points for Jack Hughes. That's not terrible. I mean, for second line guys, 50 to 60 is great. I mean, you know, 40 to 50 isn't terrible. He's on pace for just over 40 points. That's not too bad. How's someone like Donato doing? Oh boy, okay, that's bad though. 17 points in 38 games, and Wahlstrom, thankfully, is doing a little bit better, 23 points. So the second line isn't exactly firing on all cylinders. We'll have to maybe address that. Third line, Joel Farabee, only 9 points. Again, 30 points in a season for a third liner would be tremendous. He's not quite on pace to do that, though, so... All right, our secondary scoring's a bit low. 10 points for Ryan Poehling. Not J.D. Greenway, that's his brother, Jordan Greenway, 16 points in 38 games. I mean, he had 24 points in all of last year, so Jordan is doing much, much better. So a little bit of disappointment with our secondary scoring. Josh Norris has 7 points. Again, closer to 20 points, or as close to 20 points as you can be on the fourth line. I'm all right with it. He might get there. That's not terrible though at a +6. Trent Frederick is still putting up points. I mean, you can argue he's way too good for the fourth line, especially with what he's capable of offensively. And I agree. It's just that we may have, signed too many. I didn't really factor in Joel Farabee when I signed Greenway, Frederick, and LeBanc. So it might. Oh my God, this chair. Oh, the old squeaky chair is, it's on its last legs, let me tell you. I think we're going to have to retire this. I'm not saying I almost fell over. I almost fell over. And what about Kevin LeBanc? Not terrible. 11 points so far this season. So I'm a little bit disappointed in our secondary scoring. The one thing I would really consider changing would be perhaps dropping Farabee to the fourth line, just to try and give Frederick a bit better of a chance. Not sure how I feel about that, though. I don't want to drop Farabee, but Frederick's been great. So, you know what? I think we have to do just that. We'll keep Poehling at center. And then from here, it's not even a question. We'll have Josh Norris at center. So I just need to change Frederick and Norris just in case of a penalty kill situation. And to be honest, second line. I'm happy with Wahlstrom. Donato and Hughes have been okay. I do wonder if changing those two to give us a different look. All right, Frederick, Norris, Hughes, Donato. Let me make those changes really quickly. You know what? Here, I'll make a jump cut for it. Fuck it.
You're tearing me apart, Lisa!
Alright, so just to recap before we move on to looking at our defensemen, the only changes, Frederick moving up to the third line, Farabee down to the fourth line, Norris moved over to center. We have changed Frederick from a grinder to a two-way. It makes sense even though he's finding success as a grinder. Defensively, though, I got a peek at the numbers here as I changed up our penalty kill. Of course, our penalty kill previously, you would have seen it at the start of the episode, had a lot of fourth liners on it. I changed it up. It's our best players possible. So the hope here is that after a penalty kill, guys on the third and fourth line can step in, provide solid shifts, and then the top lines come back out and do what they do. So the forwards are set. We'll see if these minor changes, Donato and Hughes being swapped, of course, as well, player types are still the same. We'll see what happens moving forward in terms of secondary scoring. However, there's a reason, of course, why secondary scoring is down. And you may have guessed it, our offensively oriented defensemen are producing points, and a lot of them. We start off with Zach Werenski, who has 1 goal and 22 assists already this season, a +20. He, of course, put up 57 points last year. He may not hit the same amount, but he's still looking to hit 40 points this year. That is ridiculous. We move on to Charlie McAvoy, 7 goals, 18 assists, and a +18 as well. He put up 47 points last year. He's already on 25. Down to the second pairing, Noah Hannafin. Not as many points, but at least a stable defensive presence with that +3. Last year he put up 34 points, so he's certainly not on the same pace, but he's a strong defensive option, and he's doing about as well as I expected, so I'm happy with him. Trouba, same thing, a bit more defensive, 18 points this season. He put up 32 last year, so he's still on a really good pace. The third pairing, though, the offense is really not there. Quinn Hughes, 5 assists and a -3. 53 shots with no goals. Carlo, not a single point and a -4. So that might be something worth looking at. I mean, I imagine I'll keep it the same, but I can't really see why I'd move Carlo if he's already a defensive defenseman to maybe find someone who's technically a top 6 and might have, decent defense but slightly worse. I feel like it's fine. Obviously, Werenski and McAvoy are going to be putting up points, and as I said, the penalty kill is now improved. The power play, I mean, it's what you would expect, and it's tremendous. Although, having Noah Hannafin there, that's the one change I'm going to make. I'm going to put Quinn Hughes there and hope that he can do something with that little bit of extra time. There's really nobody, like Frederick might be all right on the power play, putting a forward on defense, but we are going to stick with that style, and we'll see what happens. Ottinger, I hadn't looked at this yet, but I kind of expected it. Only a .912 save percentage, a .271 GAA, 3 shutouts, 18 wins and 32 appearances. Obviously not what we expected. However, John Gillies has been tremendous. We signed him for a reason. His numbers were great. 10 appearances this season, 5 wins, a ridiculous .941 save percentage, and a 1.70 GAA with the 1 shutout. Again, 10 appearances, that doesn't mean starts. If he comes on, like Ottinger's getting lit up, and we bring Gillies into the game, that counts as a game played. So it doesn't say for sure. It doesn't give you the full story, and I don't believe the game tracks starts. So that's the one thing that I wish it did track, is whether or not he was starting in the majority of those games. But again, the game gives you little info in certain aspects. Down in the AHL, I want to check Bertuzzi on 20 points, Gaudette on 19. He's a -10. So I'm thinking we are just going to have to rely on the players that are already there. And how's Timmins doing? Yeah, he's okay. He's not great. That's pretty good for a struggling team, though. So with those changes made, let's continue to move on towards deadline day. Although, player stats around the league. I want to see where Middlestat ranks. I want to see how well he is doing in comparison to everybody else, and he's okay. I mean, the top scorer in the league, hell, he's on the list. He's towards the bottom, but he's on the first list here. Tarasenko and Schwartz are killing it. Scheifele, Nico Hischier, Jamie Benn is still up there, so some familiar names. Nemesnikov's doing perhaps a little bit better than you would have expected. But it is nice to see one of our first-line players on that list. Instead of having Besser be 20 points behind the leading pace scorer. So now let's continue on through the month of January. It's a somewhat busy schedule, nothing too crazy though. Hopefully we can continue our winning ways, and I'm hopeful that Cleveland will be able to start finding just a couple more wins here or there, just a couple more. I was hoping for the playoffs for them. That's not looking all that likely now, but they do have time to turn it around. Perhaps the next time we stop, I'll change up some things about their lines just to try and give them a little bit of a better fighting chance. We started off the month well with 3 straight wins, 2 straight losses now. I'm hopeful to get the win here against the Islanders, as we're going to move on to scouting players in the States. Let's go 3 weeks for them, as we have lost 3 straight games. Make it 4. Will it be 5? No, it will not. So this has been a very inconsistent month for us. 3 wins, 4 losses, 3 wins. We lose to LA. We beat Edmonton. That is a ridiculous month of hockey and very tough to judge. We are up to 30 wins on the year, though. 30, 16, and 4. We're proving to be somewhat of a streaky team, which could prove to be beneficial at a certain point. We are currently in first place in our division, although the Caps have a game at hand, so they might be able to catch us. Middlestad's point-producing pace has dropped a little bit. 44 points in 50 games, though, is not exactly terrible. Let's take a look here. You know, I'm feeling okay. I think what I'm going to do before we... Oh, boy. The second line's still a little bit disappointing, though. Ryan Donato's not quite where we want him to be. That said, he doesn't have to be a two-way. He fits the two-way mold. Hell, you could put him as a playmaker, a sniper, a two-way, a power forward. Like, his attributes, it creates a very versatile player. We might have to do some things to try and get him going in the latter half of the season. My thought was whether or not I just wanted to sim towards deadline day. And I kind of do. Oh, let me take a look here. I'm going to I'll optimize that. I'll optimize that off screen. You know what? Do I want to just go until deadline day, or do I want to stop it now? Let's keep going. The one reason why I'm hesitant is because Cleveland could... As it is, though, Cleveland is in a lot of trouble. I was going to say, Cleveland could be in a lot of trouble. If I don't make changes now, they're already in trouble, and it would take a ridiculous run of form for them to make the postseason as it is, so I'm not that concerned. What I am concerned about is that we've lost 4 straight games. Will it be 5 against Vancouver? Let's find out. If we lose our 5th straight here. Okay, we're done for this episode in terms of simming, because there might need to be changes made. That has dropped us to 3rd place in the division. I said being a streaky team could be beneficial. Not right now. So let's take a look. Brady Tkachuk, 44 points in 55 games, not terrible. He should break the point streak from last year. Obviously, though, the top line's production has fallen off just a little bit. Middlestat, same thing, 45 points in 55 games. And Brock Besser with 39 points in 55 games. I'm a little bit unhappy about Besser's point pace. Middlestat and Tkachuk are understandable. Besser being under 40 points to me is unacceptable. 13 goals, 26 assists for him. I'm really not happy with that. Not necessarily saying that I'm pondering trading him at this moment, but I'm not too happy with that. Obviously, I'm not happy with Ryan Donato's performance either. 25 points this season. And I suppose we do have to ask ourselves the question, is it worth changing him to a playmaker, to a sniper, to a power forward, just anything to try and get that going? Or is it worth either trading him and getting an improvement, or dropping him down to the 3rd line and finding an improvement for the 2nd line? Really, both are good options, I would say. Jack Hughes being up to an 88 is great news. 32 points, it's all right. It's all right. I'm happy with that. The 30 points for Wahlstrom, I'm also okay with, I suppose. Like, it makes sense. Middlestat on 45, Hughes and Wahlstrom at 30. The problem is this team in general has hit a little bit of a slump. That is our big issue right now. So it lines up in that, top line, 2nd line. It makes sense with the point totals that they have. I'm a little bit disappointed the top line's point pace has fallen off. As a result, the 2nd line's has as well. Trent Frederick, 12 goals, 7 assists. That's not bad for a 3rd liner. Like I said, the closer to 30 points, the better. Ryan Poehling probably won't hit 30 points. He has never hit 30 points in his NHL career, so it's not all that surprising. It's just the defensive ability that he brings to the table. And Jordan Greenway up to 22 points. So I'm happy with the 3rd line, admittedly. 4th line-wise, Farabee, 12 points. That's all right. 8 points for Norris and the 15 for Kevin Labanc. So the big thing here is the top line's slow development, huh? That's not the right word at all. Slowed production. I was thinking Jack Hughes' development now that he's up to an 88. That's what happens when you have 2 different train of thoughts at the same time, and your brain's going faster than your mouth, and it all falls apart and it crumbles. You get the point here, though. I'd say our biggest issue, top line, still concerned about Besser. Not saying we demote him, but, for someone of his talents, there's really no excuse why he put up 49 points last year. And he's really, I mean, he's on pace to do better than that, but not considerably better, which is quite concerning. And then second line wise, I mean, Donato is only 5 points back of Hughes and Wahlstrom. Like I said, though, we have options. Keep Donato on the second line, change up the player type. Keep Donato, bump him down to the third line, get a better second line option, trade Donato, and just get that improved second line option. So let me know what you think as far as that goes. Werenski, I mean, he's not putting up so many points that it should be taken, you know, he's not putting up Carlson numbers that would really take away from someone like Besser's ability to get points. Same for Charlie McAvoy. Hannafin's been all right. Trouba's been pretty good. I mean, the plus-minus is a little bit concerning for the third pairing, but it's nothing too drastically, drastically concerning, I'd say, for lack of a better term here, because I am not exactly distracted, but I'm concerned. Jake Ottinger, also not good enough. So the biggest problems with this team, Jake Ottinger is not playing to his ability. Defensively, it's a little bit shaky with that third pairing. Yes, Werenski, McAvoy, and Trouba are all putting up points, but doesn't make that big of an impact on Besser's potential to put up points. I would personally say no. What you could argue, though, is that the goaltending is struggling because our defense is too good on paper. That could be an argument. In which case, there are moves we could make. I would probably lean towards keeping McAvoy over Trouba, but there are changes we could make in terms of bumping up Hughes and Carlo to the third pairing, or to the second pairing, and finding a new third pairing if we think that, as my voice gives out, that's great. This episode's going off the rails. If we think that Ottinger's struggles this season are a direct correlation to how good our defense is, and it's the game's balancing mechanics, we could make major changes on defense to try and fix that. And if you also believe that that's why Besser's point totals might be a little bit lower, we could do that as well. So let me know what you think. The future of Ryan Donato with this team. Defensively, do we make major changes? Do we make minor changes? Perhaps moving a Carlo? Let me know what you think. I am going to optimize the AHL team off screen just a little bit more, just to reward the players who have done well. I'm not expecting the Monsters to make the postseason. But what I do want to do is give you guys a look at the draft pick situation, because of course they could be a little bit more valuable at this point in time. Not to mention Trouba has that full value bar. Not to mention Trouba has an expiring contract. That's one thing I wanted to look at as well. We don't have much cap space available. It could be very tough to keep this team. And of course, I would like to start re-signing players now and get that 85% where we can get it. Trouba, Hughes, Tkachuk, Middlestat, all on expiring deals. Wahlstrom as well. We're going to have some big moves to think about. Now might be the time to say goodbye to a Donato, to say goodbye to both Hannafin and Trouba in trying to save money. Let me know. It's tough because we're a winning team, but we do need to think about the future. Ottawa and the Colorado pick are looking good. We'll take a look at the standings. We also had Washington's pick. So let's see here. This is another major moment. It's just, it continues to be that way for us, where every episode we hit that crossroads where if we make the wrong choice at the wrong time, we could end up missing the playoffs. We could end up struggling to a much greater extent than I expected. Washington, of course, doing quite well. They're ahead of us in the standings at the moment. What about Colorado and Ottawa? Ottawa is 22nd. Colorado is 24th. So we will have some valuable draft picks to deal at a certain point in the future. The last thing that we're going to take a look at is who is willing to re-sign with this team, because that is a major factor, whether or not we'll be able to get that discount with certain players. You would have already seen it, Trouba not wanting to re-sign. Taking a look at forwards, the only guys we can get the discount on, Jack Hughes, Trent Frederick. There's going to have to be a lot of money spent to keep that forward core together. Defensively, neither of the two big free agents, Trouba and Hughes, are looking to re-sign. This could be a problem. We are shaping up to have, it's actually not flipping over for me, unfortunately, in terms of cap space. It's supposed to change year in and year out, but what are you going to do? You get the point. We have some major decisions. I can't speak. This is ridiculous. I am losing it. What is the matter with me? We have some major decisions to make, and I want your input before anything is done. So that will do it for this one, mainly so I stop embarrassing myself by stuttering and stammering every 5 seconds. I thank you very much for watching. You know what you can do to further support this video and this channel. Leave a like, subscribe, notification bell, and all that fun stuff that other YouTubers tell you to do all the time. Links are in the description to my Twitter and Twitch. Give me a follow on both of those platforms if you have not already done so. And until next time, have a good one. Take it easy. I will see you later. Hopefully, I don't know, this might be your last ever video of mine, in which case I'm sad to hear it. I mean, unless, of course, I don't know, many things could happen. I'm not going to ramble right now. Goodbye.